Hello, everybody. So last video we covered Trump's best case scenario. This video we're going to be covering Biden's best case scenario in the 2024 election. So this is assuming undecideds go to Biden. He outperforms the polls, maybe due to incumbency advantage. But let's get right into it. We're going to set up the safe blue states because those are going to be the easiest to set up for Biden's best case scenario. Okay. And we'll put in Virginia, New Mexico as well, because he did win those by over 10% last time in 2020. So, in a best case scenario, he wins them back by over 10%. So now these safe Trump states. Yes, Utah is still safe Trump. Again, polls don't even have Utah as that close. Trump's up here by 20, so there's no way it's going down to a under 10% margin. Was there any polls done in Nebraska second, or Nebraska's first district? No, there wasn't. So it still stays as a safe Republican district. It's like a Trump plus 11 district as well. I just kind of don't think it'll happen. Iowa, I'm going to put that back down. And South Carolina, I'll put it back down. Okay, so South Carolina, in a Biden's best case scenario, would probably still go as a safe Republican state, even though Trump only won it by about, I think, 11 points back in 2020. It's just, even in a best case, I still think it'll probably go to that 11-point margin. Iowa and Ohio. Iowa trumps up by like 12, Ohio about 11. So even in a best case scenario, these states still go as likely red states. Down to Florida, even in a best case, it would still go likely red. Trump's up here nearly by 10 percentage points. But let's see, Texas. Let me look at the individual polls. So Trump's up in Texas by about 8%. I just want to look at the individuals, see if Trump's near 50% here. So only a few polls have Trump at above 50%. Other polls have him at near the upper 40s to mid 40s. So I think Biden could get it to lean Republican in his best case scenario. Alaska, let's just take a look at polls from there. Yeah, Trump's up here by pretty large amounts here, double digits. Bullfinch, I don't really trust that pollster. They had Washington going gnarly for Trump. But other polls, I think Biden could get it down to a likely Republican margin, make it trend a bit bluer than last time. Let's see. Nevada and Arizona are up next. Again, a lot of polls have shown Trump up in Nevada, especially New York Times had Trump at 13%. But other polls show it as a tie, so I don't know what's going on with polling down in Nevada, but something's going down there that's pretty interesting. I'm really curious to see what happens there. Yeah, other polls, Morning Consult, Prime Group have it as a tie. Florida Atlantic has it as a Trump plus 8. I've never seen this pollster before. GSG. But other polls have it as like huge Trump lead. But still, looking at the history of Nevada, it can go blue again. So I would have this in a Biden's best case scenario going as a tilt blue state. I still think Biden could win it based on past history. It was very close before. Maybe those polls are outliers for Biden, but other polls have it as a tie. So hypothetically, he could pull it off here. But so far, Trump has a pretty good advantage in Nevada, but Biden could still win it, especially in a best case scenario. Arizona as well. It's only a very narrow Trump lead, and I don't believe Trump's hitting 50% as much. Let's see. There's only one poll that actually showed him at about 50%, and there's another one done back in April that shows him at 50, so 2 polls. But other polls only show Trump up here by 1, 2. Some polls show him at 5%, but the most recent ones, there's one poll showing Biden up with a 2-point lead. Again, maybe undecideds break for Biden. We saw undecideds break for the Democrats back in Arizona's Senate and governor race back in 2022. So it could very well happen. We see a lot of moderate Republicans or former Republicans go to Biden here because they just dislike Trump, what he said about John McCain. So in a best case scenario, I do think Biden could end up winning the state of Arizona. Nebraska second, it could go likely blue in a best case scenario. Pretty much the same margin as last time. Maine and New Hampshire, they could go both likely blue, while Maine second just stays as likely red, so a reversion back to last time. North Carolina and Georgia, I do believe in a best case scenario Biden could end up winning both these states, but so far he's down by 4.5 points in Georgia and North Carolina. Let's just take a look at the averages. 4.7, 4.8. So they're voting nearly in unison here. So I think North Carolina and Georgia are going to be voting pretty similarly this time. There's going to be less of a gap than it was last time between them in 2020. So Biden could hypothetically win both these states in a best case scenario, especially if he wins over those undecideds, regains in the polls. He could definitely end up winning them. But right now, if it's a normal election prediction, I think Trump has a pretty sizable advantage in Georgia because some polls have him at 50%. Let's check out North Carolina. And also, it's kind of the same story here, but there's only a few polls that show Trump at 50% here in the state of North Carolina. But in a best case scenario, I do think Biden could end up winning those two states, especially if like Trump gets convicted on some of those charges and sent to jail. We already seen some polls showing like if Trump were to be sent in jail, that would actually hurt him in the election. So that could very well happen. So we're looking at these last four Rust Belt states here. So Minnesota, Biden did really badly in the primary. He only got 70% of the vote here in the state of Minnesota. Currently, he's only up here by 2.5%. But in a best case scenario, he could win over those undecided voters. And let's just take a look at how he's polling. Mid-40s about. So he could win over those undecideds. So it could go likely blue like it was back in 2020. Michigan, PA, and Wisconsin, however, Michigan, it's probably not going to go likely blue in the best case scenario for Biden. He'd be lucky to win it by like 3 points, 4 points, something like that. But more recently, we're seeing a lot more polls actually showing Biden up in the lead in Michigan. So it's starting to regain and claw back the support against Trump here. So this is one of those states that I definitely think would go to Biden. But in a best case scenario, he could win it by 3 or 4 points. Pennsylvania, on the other hand, will be a bit more Republican state compared to Michigan. There's only been one poll that shows Biden up here in a while here. Most of these other polls show Trump up here, but it's not over 50%, which is good for Biden. But in the best case scenario, he'd be able to win it by about 2 percentage points, 2.5. Maybe he could get to that margin. Let's take a look at Wisconsin. And Biden actually performs very well in Wisconsin, which is kind of surprising to me. It made me shift my prediction on this state. But right now, Biden actually leads in the average of polls here by 0.1%. But yeah, in a best case scenario, he would definitely win the state. This is one of the states he's actually holding up well in as of right now. Probably because it's a more white state and just comparatively, the reason Biden's hurting is he's doing worse among minority voters, young voters. So states with a big minority population with especially Latino voters, he does a lot worse with, and we see him losing a lot of these swing states due to Latino voters shifting a bit more Republican than last time. So in a best case scenario, he would be able to end up winning the state of Wisconsin. So the margin for the popular vote would probably be in a best case scenario for Biden, 5%. He could win it by 5 potentially. But in the Electoral College, it would probably be 319 electoral votes is the best he's going to get. I just don't think he's going to win Texas or Florida or Ohio or Iowa. There's the other states he could maybe win. Maybe Alaska, but that's very far out of reach. I don't think Alaska's going to go blue for a very, very long time. Texas, it could get in range in the future, but this is not a video based on 2030/2040s elections. But so far, these are the states within reach for Biden. In his best case scenario, he could win with this map. So Trump would probably end up winning more electoral votes than him in a best case scenario, like in my last video. But this is my current prediction for the best case scenario for Joe Biden for the month of May. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you're new to this channel, highly recommend subscribing. And let me know down in the comments, what would your best case scenario be for Joe Biden in the 2024 election? Other than that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.